Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today is July 25th and it's my weekly shop update. So I thought I would give you an update on the sawmill to kind of start things off. At this point it is reassembled to the point where it was before I took it apart last year to paint it. So after, I think it was right after I shot last week's update, I got out there and I reinstalled the guards, and then I got the wheels reinstalled onto the shafts, put the doors on the guards, and then also hooked up the motor. I got the pulley on the drive shaft, put the belts back on, tensioned the belts, wired the motor, and I also reset the guides. Now what was really surprising to me was the fact that when I put a blade back on there and I spun the wheels, the blade actually still tracked correctly. So that means that somehow, as I took all the stuff apart, I was able to get it back exactly as it was calibrated before I took it apart, which feels really good. One of the things I was kind of dreading was having to kind of go through and recalibrate everything again, but it is exactly the same as it was before I started messing with it, which is always really nice. So the one thing it's missing right now is a little adjuster post thing which controls the blade guide on the idle side. Since that is not there, the blade does pull that guide across the bed and it will contact the drive guide if there's nothing in the way, or it'll just kind of drag along a log because there's nothing holding that guide in position. So I still need to get that reinstalled. I need to create a little bracket for that so it can be bolted onto the blade guide and then paint it, but that's not going to be too big of a deal. And I'm just overall just happy that it still cuts. Just that alone makes me quite happy. And at this point I'll get up there and I'll get that blade thing corrected at some point and kind of go from there. Getting, I think, pretty close to being able to start sawing things again. I need to order some more blades. I gotta do that today. And then at some point I'll send out the blades that I do have here that are dull to get sharpened. So things are trucking along as far as sawmill land goes. I do have a little bit of an update on the sideboard project. I got the legs right here. So yesterday I was out here getting the legs to this point. I started with just the slab that I got the leg stock out of. Got these broken down out of that slab, got them built into square stock, cut the final length, and then started working on the joinery. So the joinery on the sideboard is pretty much all frame and panel, which is fairly simple joinery. It's quite nice. So you're able to run a groove down the length of the leg, and that's going to house the panel as well as what's going to become the deeper mortises to receive the tenons for the top and bottom rails. So because you have, you know, basically this guide with this groove here, that makes locating the mortises a little bit easier. And normally I would cut the mortises into the grooves on the mortiser, but this time I decided to do the whole thing on the router table. I know a lot of people don't have a mortiser, so I wanted to show how to do these mortises as well as the grooves all in one kind of operation, or all in one setup at least, at the router table. So that was, I think that's the first time I've done mortises on the router table like that in many years. I haven't done that in a long time. I usually just favor the mortiser, but yeah. So the sides are going to have that panel with the top and bottom rail. The front has a bottom rail that gets a normal mortise, and then later on we'll add the double tenon for the horizontal divider, and then a sliding dovetail on the top for that top, I guess, rail or top divider or something like that. And then the back is also frame and panel. It is this one here. So you got a top rail, you got the panel slot groove thing, and then you got the mortise on the bottom for the bottom rail. So pretty exciting stuff right here. This is like the beginnings of something very cool. Next week these will be all like set to their final distances apart with all those rails installed. So it's gonna start looking like an actual piece of something. Hopefully a piece of furniture next week. So that's what's going on in my shop this week. Let's take a look at some viewer projects. First this week is an Oregon Black Walnut River Table by Matt. It's made from locally sourced black walnut slabs with Wenge bow ties and backfilled with West System epoxy. The base is fabricated from 3x3 tube, then powder coated flat black. There's also a matching bench, which is made from the walnut from the same tree. Next this week is the table and chairs by Luke. Luke designed and built this counter height table and chairs as a junior year carpentry project for shop class. It is made from walnut and maple. He used a lathe duplicator for the first time to complete all the legs. The project took all school year long, in addition to countless hours of working on it at home too. Next is the guitar by Mike. This was Mike's first guitar, and it's made from walnut that was lying in his friend's yard as a log for 10 years before milling it with a chainsaw. The fretboard is Ipe, which he got from a boat after replacing some trim. Matt has a bunch of other finished pictures as well as some progress shots, and I'll leave a link to that down in the description. Last this week is a giant Adidas shoebox by JD. It's made from 3/4 inch plywood, and the graphics were done at a local shop in Nashville. The paint was color matched at a local Home Depot, and they nailed it. So on Friday, I'll be heading to Toronto. I was going to try and make a longer trip out of it, make a family trip out of it, but I'm just going to be going alone just for 2 days to go to my cousin's wedding. But when I'm there, on Friday, after I land, I'm going to head out to visit Paul again. I visited him over 2 years ago now. It's been a long time. So I'm going to try and do an updated kind of like shop walk around and stuff out there. If you're not familiar with Paul, he's the guy behind Canadian Woodworks and Legacy Lumber. They're pretty big on Instagram. I'll leave links to his website and those two Instagram pages for his lumber business and his like furniture and other stuff business. Really looking forward to seeing him again, seeing the new shop space and also the big mill that he's built in the time since I've been there. Because when I was there last time, that mill was just like what he had bought from somebody. It was like a resaw mill or something, so it was not as big, and then it was modified to be as big as it is now. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in person. Anyway, that'll be coming up at some point, but yeah, it's going to be a pretty quick trip. Yeah, it's going to be fast, that's for sure. Whew! All right, I think that's all I have for this week. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today or anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment, as well as I'll be happy to answer your questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.